It's not exactly a secret that Sly's one seriously wealthy dude. But with 400 million smackaroonies to his name, how rich is he really? The answer? Stupidly so. His nearly $500 million stuffed piggy bank makes him worth almost double that of Vin Diesel, Morgan Freeman, and Nicole Kidman. More than 5 times more loaded than the likes of Ryan Gosling, and over 10 times richer than Emma Stone. Make no mistake about it, this guy has cash flowing out of his ears. That being said, Sly's bank balance still falls around $40 million shy of Pirates of the Caribbean star Johnny Depp, and $70 million shy of Forrest Gump himself, Tom Hanks. But where did all the money come from? His list of box office smashes, of course. And that list is extensive. Just to throw out a couple of figures for you, Stallone collected $7 million for the 1982 American thriller First Blood, received a $16 million paycheck for his role in Rambo 3, and netted a cool $15 million for The Expendables 3 more recently back in 2014. But Stallone wasn't always an A-list actor and money magnate. Before he got his big break, he was struggling to pay the bills, needed to scrape for his meals, and, as rough as it sounds, even needed to sell his own dog in order to put food on the table. Thankfully, after he sold the script for Rocky, he was able to buy his beloved Butkus back, albeit at a seriously infrared price tag. Before we jump into how Stallone spends his cash, let's take a step back. How did he manage to climb the Tinseltown ladder in the first place? The famous actor wasn't born with a silver spoon, nor was he brought up in New York City luxury. In fact, as we all know, Sly was born with a partial facial paralysis due to a severed nerve. Burdened with low self-esteem as a result, Stallone eventually turns to bodybuilding, and at a later stage, theater performing, as a means of breaking through what he perceives to be constant low expectations. Before graduating from the University of Miami, the iconic film star dropped out, moving back to New York City to actively pursue his acting career. He cleaned zoo cages, worked as a theater usher, even participated in an experimental film, all to put bread on the table. And while he scored a few uncredited roles in mainstream films like Clute and Bananas, it was when he jumped from East Coast to West Coast in the 70s that he finally hit his turning point. The turning point, of course, came in the form of a screenplay he'd written about an aspiring boxer in Philadelphia. Yep, you know the one, Rocky. His upfront salary for the classic 1976 film was a mere $23,000, but the film was a monster success, raking in more than $225 million at the box office. Ultimately, Sly ended up making around $2.5 million from the infamous underdog story. With Rocky paving the way for an enormously successful franchise, plus the likes of Rambo, Cliffhanger, Cobra, and The Expendables coming later, Sly was gifted more money than any average Joe could deal with. So how does he spend it all? For starters, one pretty darn impressive car collection. In the great man's garage, you'll find a Bugatti Veyron, one of the most expensive supercars in the world, which sports a whopping price tag of $1,700,000. For something a little cheaper, there's the Aston Martin DBS worth around $200,000, or the $250,000 Bentley Continental GTC. Complementing off his list of sleek wheels are a $250,000 Ferrari 612 Scaglietti, a $330,000 Ferrari 599 GTB Fiorano Mansory, a $200,000 plus Mercedes SL65, and a comparatively cheap $73,000 Mercedes E-Class AMG. But wait, there's more. The Italian stallion has also been spotted behind the wheel of an exclusive VW Phaeton, a Mercedes-Benz G550, which is worth over $100,000, an old-school 1968 Corvette, a custom Mustang GT, and a special edition Chevy Camaro Hendrix SS. Gee, talk about over the top. Oh, and how could we forget this Cadillac Escalade? The movie star churned out $400K in order to customize its interior to feel and look like a private jet. His love for cars is second to none, clearly, but Stallone also adores his motorcycles. Anyone remember that yellow Harley from Rocky 3? Well, it turns out that the bike, appropriately dubbed the Italian stallion Rocky Balboa Harley-Davidson motorcycle, is for sale. It can reach upwards of $250,000, and you can bet your bottom dollar that one of them sits under Sly's roof. With all these cars carrying exceptional value, you'd hope that Stallone's got enough room in his house to keep all of them under cover. And trust us, with more than one sprawling mansion to his name, he definitely does. In the 90s, most of the movie star's time was spent living in this neoclassical-style villa overlooking Biscayne Bay in Miami. Spread across 14 acres of land, there was more than enough room for Sly, his wife Jennifer, and the rest of the family to kick back and relax. Shall we take a look inside then? Unique sculpture art lines the three-story house, particularly in the living room, with the focal point being this, a Beaux-Arts painting of a sea maiden. The stair hall is beautiful in its own right, but the eave sculpture by Rodin, which stands in the center, steals the attention. There's an entire gallery dominated with portraits of the actor by Andy Warhol, not to mention the stunning chandeliers and Venetian spiral column archways. As for the gardens, well, see for yourself. With ponds, waterfalls, and fountains, it's truly a sight to behold. Sylvester bought this pad in June of 1993 for $8 million, eventually letting it go in 1999 for a hefty profit, selling it for $16.2. Hopping over to sunny California, Stallone added this 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom waterfront property on Lake Sherwood to his collection in 2008, reportedly spending about $4.85 million at the time. While it was rather small, especially compared to his next purchase, the gorgeous views of the lake and mountains beyond were second to none. Alas, Sly put it back on the market just 3 years later at a $150,000 markup, but ended up selling it for a considerable loss. Around the same time, Stallone signed on the dotted line for this $4.5 million estate in La Quinta. The high-end golf course community is no stranger to celebrity residents. Names such as Kanye West and Kim Kardashian have also lived here. Shall we step inside? The desert oasis spans 5,173 square feet and features 4 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms. As you roam around, you'll also find a stunning 2-story living room, formal dining room, chef's kitchen, dedicated wine cellar, and for all those A-lister parties, an outdoor kitchen and entertaining space. After nearly a decade in his possession, the actor sold it in 2020, also at a loss. Undoubtedly the most impressive house, mansion, in Sly's portfolio is this gem, a 15,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, 7-bathroom palace in the ritzy Beverly Park neighborhood of LA. With heavy hitters such as Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg as neighbors, clearly this is a postcode reserved for the rich. Considering that it's worth nearly $10 million, you'd expect nothing less. Among the long list of highlights, the cliffside pool offers remarkable views of the Los Angeles basin, and the 3,000 square foot guest house is bigger than most entire properties. It goes without saying that the Academy Award nominee has no hesitation shelling out the big bucks for a nice house or two. But that doesn't mean he's only spending with himself in mind. As someone with a rough upbringing, as someone who's done the hard yards, Stallone is well aware of the importance of giving back to the community and lending a helping hand to those in need. Over the decades, this actor auctioned off thousands of dollars worth of original Rocky props, raised a total of $100,000 for Canadian Diabetes Association, and has donated what's potentially climbed into the millions to organizations such as the Pediatric Epilepsy Project and UNICEF. The action hero isn't all about giving away money. In order to help maintain and grow his wealth, Stallone has branched out into business and investing. Case in point, creating and owning a clothing line, which was inspired by both Rambo and Rocky. Check it out. Would you wear something like this? Back in 1991, he, alongside Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Demi Moore, helped to launch the restaurant chain Planet Hollywood. Perhaps most bizarrely, however, he also attempted to create, get this, his very own pudding empire. His company, which was called InStone, produced a pudding snack that advertised itself as low in carbs, high in protein, and downright delicious. Unfortunately, a bitter legal dispute with a food scientist over the rights to the formula dragged on for years, eventually forcing InStone to close its doors. Overshadowing these unique ventures, though, is Stallone's most successful investment practice, producing films. His production company, Balboa Productions, is responsible for money-making feature-length films like Rambo: Last Blood and Samaritan, among a bunch of additional projects. Investing and donating are all well and good, but what's the use of being stinking rich if you can't spoil yourself with a touch of luxury every now and then? We know that the actor is an avid art collector, but what's lesser known is the fact that he absolutely loves to spoil himself on over-the-top, super expensive watches. Sly's wrist piece collection consists of a $20,000 yellow gold Rolex Submariner with a black dial, and an 18-karat white gold Rolex GMT Master II Pepsi worth about $7,500 in its own right. The watch features a sparkling combination of diamonds, sapphires, and rubies to form that iconic Pepsi color scheme. Then there's the $4,500 IWC Pilot, the $10,000 Rolex Sea Dweller, and plenty of Panerai pieces. The timeless actor also isn't afraid to fork out the big bucks on luxury travel. As part of his pay for Rambo 3, Sylvester asked for a Gulfstream jet worth $12 million. And guess what? He got one. If he's not flying in a private jet, he's cruising around on exclusive yachts in places like the south of France on leisurely family holidays. Jealous yet? Planes, watches, cars, and hours, that's all cool, but nothing quite screams luxury like a life-size statue of yourself. Yup, Sly's got one of them too.